Leaving Beijing now, there's the pain of separation, leaving the teachers behind. Being with them was wonderful for all of us. But now we're on our own, on our way to Xi'an and Shanghai, with a Chinese opera in English performed by Americans. It's more than a little bit intimidating. I wonder if we will be accepted. I know I will always remember this last week in Beijing and the opening of our tour.
It is a summer evening in Beijing, China. The year is 1986. As on evenings centuries before, a Chinese opera will open tonight, but this performance will be different. This cast and crew from the University of Hawaii prepares for their Chinese debut of The Phoenix Returns to Its Nest. Tonight, they will present the first Chinese opera to be performed in English in the People's Republic of China. Trained in the rich tradition of this ancient art form, these students and faculty members are conscious of every detail. Their Chinese audience will be well familiar with every operatic stylization and nuance. Questions hang in the air. Will we succeed? Will the audience like us? Beijing opera is a tradition like many others in China. Access to its traditions are not easily gained and almost unheard of for foreigners. But this is not an ordinary group of students. The University of Hawaii is respected internationally for its 60 years of commitment to Asian theater studies and performances. The director and translator of the Phoenix Opera is Dr. Elizabeth Wichmann. In 1980, she was the first Westerner to sing Chinese opera in the People's Republic of China. For Elizabeth, this trip will hopefully be both an affirmation of her troupe's talents and an opportunity to once again see her own teacher, Madame Shen Xiaomei. So familiar is this plot, and so accurate are the stylized actions of the performers, that the Chinese audience has no difficulty following the Americans' performance.
Range and fist, sword, knife, and stave. Greenwood heroes are my mates. At Peach Blossom Peak, I'm head of state.
Beijing opera synthesizes all of the major performance elements: dialogue, story, movement, dance, song, and music. In China, actors, performers say that they sing theater, and audiences say that they go to listen to theater rather than to watch theater.
It is early morning in Beijing. In front of the imperial city gates, a teacher shares the silent steps of Taiji Chuan, the dance of meditation, passing down ancient information to yet another pupil. In a courtyard miles away, others also learn what their teacher was once taught. Movements for the opera stage, movements that were perhaps born of the same source as the Taiji.
Okay, everyone, let's go down and form in 3 lines for the T-tway, for the kick. Okay, we'll start with Zhengmian T-tway with Yun Shou. When you do the Yun Shou, please keep your chests up and let your torso follow your arms. 预备起
Unlike Western theater, which allows for much freedom of interpretation, the art of Chinese theater is highly stylized. Characters are portrayed by very specific movements, vocal patterns, costumes, and makeup.
预备起
What Elizabeth teaches today is what she learned 7 years earlier.
In my study of Beijing opera, the most long-term special experience has been my training with Shen Xiaomei. Beijing opera training is really a master-apprentice relationship, one that goes beyond just handing down techniques in particular plays. Master performers also pass on a personal style.
Madame Shen was the youngest student of the legendary Mei Lan Fang, creator of the Phoenix Opera. It was Madame Shen who gave Elizabeth the Phoenix script to take to Hawaii and her students. But the two women never dreamt that the opera would return to China as an English language production.
In translating The Phoenix Returns to Its Nest, my goal was to arrive at a performance script that would play as a good theatrical experience in English, and at the same time retain the flavor of the original Beijing opera.
You're always saying how pretty my little sister is. But me, I'm your child. Take a good look at yourself. Under the circumstances, I think I turned out pretty darn good.
Most of the action in The Phoenix Returns to Its Nest revolves around the family of Vice Minister Cheng. He has 2 daughters, one who is young, lovely, and filial, and another who is somewhat older, somewhat less lovely, and considerably less filial. But he decides to arrange the marriage of the younger one before that of the elder one. This arouses the ire of his wife and causes his elder daughter to willingly participate in some trickery.
At least 1,000 years ago, Chinese opera began on dusty roads when itinerant troupes roamed from one town to another with their performances. Centuries later, this American troupe continues the same tradition of travel. For them, their opera yields a new way of looking, of being, and gives them a context for their wanderings.
How can you tell if the watermelon is going to be sweet?
I don't know. Find a will first.
I have to buy a mosquito net.
Okay.
How do you say mosquito net?
One stop.
One stop? One stop? I want a one stop. Is that going to do it?
I learned enough to say, I'm a Beijing opera performer, and they were all very surprised at this, and they said, well, sing something.
Care for our forts, matters small and great. I will seek ill-gotten wealth to liberate.
Without any knowledge of English, the spectators identify the opera by watching. Movement, gesture, and intonation give it away. The story of how the tour all began became a symbol for the best of relations between the two countries. In 1984, the People's Republic agreed that 3 of its master performers from the China-Beijing Opera Company could go to Honolulu to help prepare the students for their Hawaii debut of the Phoenix. The gesture was unprecedented, establishing a spirit of generosity that would become the essence of the tour itself. At a formal banquet in Beijing, Dr. Albert Simon, president of the University of Hawaii, brings together many of those who have been involved with the opera production since its inception, such as James Brandon, chair of the Department of Drama and Theater.
Propose a toast to a people who have a rich history and a rich tradition from which we can learn so much. Many more days and years of continuing friendship and cultural exchange.
Across the ocean.
In Beijing Opera, a few steps can indicate a journey of 1,000 miles. A chair, a mountain. A gesture, a rainbow. Here, a 1985 public television feature reveals some of the subtlety of the master's art on the stage in Honolulu.
Madam Yang Qiuling is one of the youngest students of Master Mei Langfang, who developed this play. Her husband, Li Jialin, is a very well-known painted face performer, and he is also a director, so that he is able to teach almost all of the roles in the play.
Mr. Li demonstrates how looking at someone can be interpreted 3 ways.
Oh, okay, the painted face male character is much larger. Also with a punctuation, but much larger punctuation. The young male character. With a youthful beauty. And a clown character, a male clown character. Very lively.
Mr. Wan Ruixing is a professional jinghu player. He's very, very good. And he taught all of the instruments in the orchestra.
Once more, Hubei. Qi.
After their 4-month stay in Hawaii, the masters returned to China, and Elizabeth continued the training of the students to mount the Hawaii production. Word of the successful debut later reached the Chinese theatrical community, and soon an invitation to tour China was issued. Since the troops' arrival in Beijing, the bonds between teachers and students have been renewed and deepened. It was Mr. Wan Ruixing who first gave the students the sounds of Chinese opera and the gift of this unique music. Tonight, he has invited his music students to his home in Beijing. He is eager to repay their hospitality, which he experienced in Hawaii, and they look forward to seeing an old friend and respected teacher. The musicians are pleased to see Mr. Wan with a ukulele they had given him a year earlier in Hawaii. They also had taught him Jingle Bells, but the teacher, with his jovial nature, puns the title by calling it Jinhu Bells. The Jinghu is a stringed instrument which he has taught these students to play.
Mr. Wan, or Wan Lao Shi, which means teacher, would demonstrate something, and we'd try our best to follow suit, do whatever he was doing. We just developed a tremendously warm and personable rapport with him. He was amazed at the life he found in Hawaii. It was something he had never experienced before. I had him over to my house for a party, and we would take him for rides. He even went disco hopping in Waikiki. It's good to see him again.
I would like to toast to the great Chinese artists and musicians and the great encouragement they've given to all of us.
At a reception held backstage, Elizabeth and the university representatives greet the Chinese dignitaries who have gathered to see the performance of the Phoenix. Then Madame Shen appears unannounced. She has traveled from Nanjing to surprise her student on this festive occasion. The greeting is almost too much for the usually composed American. Teacher and student are reunited.
I'll borrow my little sister's name and say there's some problem I need help with. Okay. Not locked. Guess I'll just let myself in. Mr. Wolf, where are you? Mr. Wolf, where are you? Where are
Besides the training in Chinese opera, the company members are students of performing arts of other cultures. It is this curiosity about each other's art and the willingness to openly share that make cultural exchange the heart of the tour for both Chinese and American. Exchange parties are arranged to provide an opportunity for both host and guests to meet one another and to demonstrate the best of their talents. The Phoenix cast and crew are treated to a performance by the daughter and son of the man who created the Phoenix Opera, Mei Lanfang. The honor of bringing the master's legacy within the reach of the troupe suggests the extent to which the visitors are not only accepted, but are encouraged to continue. Language barriers are no longer important when a rousing chorus of the Orange Blossom Special is in the air. Away from the stage and cultural parties, the Americans find less formal settings to meet the people of China. And throughout the tour, the teaching and the learning continue.
5 years ago, and for some time before that, I was here in China as a student. Now I'm back with a company of University of Hawaii students. All of us have worked very hard, both for the original production of the Phoenix in Honolulu, and then to remount the show for this tour.
And then when it's there, let them come down.
We are amazed by the kind of reception we're being given here. Our university troupe is being received like a major international performance company.
Opera singers delight the natives. Oh, look.
The Chinese respond enthusiastically. Opera performer Madame Yang Junxia compliments leading ladies Michiko Ueno and Lin Weber.
And you have performed the Chinese-speaking opera in English, and it would be understandable to a lot of people in the world. I think you have performed very well.
The phrase, "the phoenix returns to its nest," is the Chinese equivalent to the English, "all's well that ends well." And in this opera, it does end well. Wars are ended and lovers are reunited. Memories of opening night in Beijing slip away as the train pulls out of the station. Next stop for the troupe is Xi'an, the ancient capital of culture in the heart of China, 18 hours away. A proud delegation greets the arriving troupe. They are eager to see the Americans perform.
Here we are in Xi'an, and tonight there's another opening of the Phoenix. I wish the teachers could be here. They have been so inspiring, so supportive. But the students have truly made this Beijing opera their own now. And I believe tonight's performance will be just as successful as that opening night in Beijing. that warm applause, and the dignitaries greeting us on stage. The reception was overwhelming.
The tour is a success both as a production and as a cultural exchange. People of two diverse countries have discovered and experienced each other through the universal language of art and culture. By coming home, the Phoenix has united Chinese and Americans.
Stay tuned for Norman Rockwell, An American Portrait. This special program chronicles the work and success of popular American painter Norman Rockwell. It's next on KHET. Major funding for Train to Xi'an was made possible by grants from Hawaii Public Television, with additional funding from Alexander and Baldwin.